by Super America. Get your Not-Whole Kids Day vouchers at any local Super America. The Twins won Friday, the Astros Saturday, and now they both return to Target Field for the rubber match in an important series. The Twins starting staff has really struggled lately, and the bullpen has pitched almost as many innings over the last 9 games. Irvin Santana hoping to give the pen a break as he goes for his first win here at Target Field. Rookie Lance McCullers will take them out for Houston. He'll try to follow suit in a starting rotation that has been lights out. The Astros pitching staff as a whole has the best ERA in the American League. Welcome inside Target Field on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. I'm Jamie Hirsch. When the Twins and the Astros met over the last few years late in the season, both were well out of any postseason hopes by then. But this year, both are very much in the playoff hunt, and that's because they continue to surprise the world of baseball with an incredible season. You see their turnaround. They both lost 92 games last year, and it has been remarkable how quickly both teams have turned it around. And as for the Twins, they fully believe this is their year to get back to the postseason.
The fighting everybody, from the position players, we're down a few runs. They don't give up. They keep battling back. They don't feel like we have to score all the runs in one inning. You chip away early, get a run here, get a run there, and put yourself in a situation late. Starting pitchers, battling, going after guys, not putting extra guys on base. They don't have to. And then, like we talked about before, the bullpen coming in. When we have the lead, when we come in the game, those are games you expect to win.
Go through these ups and downs through the year, but, it's getting crunch time right now, obviously, going into the last month of the season. And I feel like we're right where we need to be. We're playing good baseball. Pitching's been great. Our bullpen's been very good. And we've been driving people in. When you put all those things together, it's going to be a fun September.
Irvin Santana will play a big part in that September for the Twins, trying to get him to the postseason. He needs a win today, and Dick and Roy will explain how he can get one after this.
Sports North is presented by Luther Nissan Kia. 2 locations, 1 very low price. By Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. By USAA. For those who gave everything that we may breathe free, we honor you. And by Dodge. Find your summer of performance with great deals at the Dodge Summer Clearance event. Despite getting substandard starting pitching when it matters most, the Twins have reemerged as a wild card contender. They hope to pick up some ground in the final game of the series here today, despite the fact that they did not hit well with men in scoring position last night. And good Sunday afternoon to you from Target Field. Dick Bramer along with Roy Small. And the Twins will, of course, try to win another series here against a really good ball club. And what they need more than anything else is a good start today from Ervin Santana.
Absolutely, and they've needed that for quite a few starts now. Started out very, very well for the Twins this year. Lately, just not nearly as good. And what you're seeing right here is probably his best pitch. Just a devastating slider. Great movement down and away, and then the fastball complementing that around the perimeters of the zone. There's that nasty slider. But what has happened is that all of a sudden, the last 4 starts or so, he's right in the middle of the plate with his fastball. Pitch selection, to me, has been really pretty good. I can't argue with any of his pitch selection. Location has been an issue, and if he's going to get better today, he has got to be able to do 2 things. Command the fastball first and foremost. We always talk about you have to establish the fastball, but you don't establish it in the middle of the plate. Show hitters you can throw it on either corner and down in the strike zone. Then you can use your off-speed stuff, your slider and your changeup, which actually, in my opinion, are his 2 best pitches. Slider, changeup, and no fastballs in the middle of the zone.
Incredibly, the Twins have not had a starter complete 6 innings in a week and a half. They'll need that today from Santana as they hope to win the series finale against the Astros. Twins who have finished a successful road trip by sweeping the Orioles and taking 2 out of 3 against fellow wild card contender the Tampa Bay Rays, hope to do the same thing against one of the better teams in the league, the Houston Astros. And then, of course, a day off tomorrow, and then a big series here against the White Sox. Every game important, of course, particularly for the Twins. The Astros, it is assumed, will get into the playoffs. They hope as a division winner. They have a 4-game lead over the Texas Rangers, and quite a job done by A.J. Hinch. His 3rd season as manager, but his first with the Houston Astros. They are a very good-looking team with that pitching staff. And the Menards batting order for the Houston Astros, held without a home run in the first 2 games of the series. Jose Altuve will lead things off. Marwin Gonzalez, Evan Gattis, Colby Rasmus, Carlos Gomez, Luis Valbuena, Chris Carter, Hank Conder, and Jake Marisnick.
Ervin Santana on the mound for the Twins. 4 very, very good starts to start his career with the Twins, and then the last 5 or 6 not very good. And we talked about it in the open of the show. He's going to have better command with his fastball. Really worked very hard with pitching coach Neil Allen in the bullpen in his last bullpen session before this start. We'll see if they found something mechanically that'll let him throw the ball where he wants to throw it.
Technically a quality start as we look at the Twins out in the field. Brought to you by Northland Ford. Shane Robinson, Byron Buxton, Eddie Rosario in the outfield. Nunez, Escobar, Dozier, Maurer. The infielders, Chris Herman doing the catching, with the Kurt Suzuki getting the day off. Herman hoping to catch a quality start from Ervin Santana. Quality start, 6 innings or more, 3 earned runs or less. And the Twins haven't been able to get a qualifying, forget a quality start, but a qualifying start. They haven't had a starter go 6 innings in 8 games, and miraculously they've won 6 of those 8 games. Mark Ripperger behind the plate, Bill Miller at first, Penn May at second, and Doug Eddings at third. Santana, who pitched 2 great ball games right after his suspension on the road, would love to come up with a great one at home. First pitch tapped up the middle, and it's a base hit. So Altuve aboard with a first pitch single.
One thing that Ervin Santana just cannot afford to do is throw get me over fastballs in the middle of the strike zone to get strike 1. We talk about how you have to pitch ahead, you have to throw strikes, but they have to be quality strikes, and he's been battling fastballs just like that one Altuve started the game with a base hit right down the middle.
Here's Marwin Gonzalez. Astros are known as a home run hitting team, and so far the Twins have kept them in the ballpark in the first 2 games. Here's a bunt in the air, and Herman can't get there in time. It landed near the front step of the Twins dugout. Home runs have been an issue for Santana. Just 58 innings pitched and 11 home runs allowed.
Well, he's got a good enough fastball to go with a real good slider, a real good changeup. Good enough meaning 91, 92, occasional 93. That's a good major league fastball, but it's relatively straight, and it's not hard enough where you can just blow hitters away with it. It needs to be the pitch that sets up your strikeout pitches and your really nasty pitches, the slider and the changeup.
1 strike to Gonzalez. Gets him to chase a high fastball. The stuff, they say, is there. There was concern after his last start against the Rays that he might be tipping his pitches, but they looked at video, didn't see anything. Santana himself looked at video right after his start against the Rays in St. Petersburg. Neil Allen said nothing there where he's not tipping his pitches. Jamie's going to get a report here in a little while about what they have been working on with Santana between starts. Of course, he was with the Twins in spring training, but then had to be divorced from the team while he sat out his 80-game suspension for PED use. 2 strikes to Gonzalez. Strike 3, 1 down.
Gonzalez doesn't like it, but that looked like an awfully good pitch. That's his good slider. And I don't know what you can gripe about there. Right? That's a good pitch.
And Santana will need to do more of that. Pitch to the outside, the periphery of the strike zone, instead of getting too much of the plate.
That's exactly right, and especially with the fastball.
Here's Gaddis.
One of the things that I've noticed, it looks to me like hitters in the last 4 or 5 starts also with Santana, they don't want to have to be in a situation where they have to hit the slider or the changeup, especially that slider. It's a really, really good pitch. So guys have gotten aggressive early on the fastball.
Up and in.
And I know as a former hitter, if I were going to hit against Santana, that's the way I'd feel about it. I'd get on the fastball in my mind, and I'd be swinging from the time I left the on deck circle, so that I could stay away from having to fight off that slider or recognize the changeup.
1-0. Tapped foul. Got Gaddis to chase a breaking ball off the plate. 10 starts prior to today for Santana, and we mentioned just the 58 innings pitched. He's been one of the culprits in a rotation that has left far too much work to be done by the bullpen, and it's really been evident in the last week and a half. And Santana a part of that. His last start in St. Petersburg, just 2 2/3 innings, 5 runs, 8 hits. Altuve checked it first. Twins dropped a game to the Astros and dropped a game in the wild card standings with Texas winning. Still a game ahead of the Angels, but it really doesn't matter. The focus is on who is in the second place spot in the wild card standings. Twins were there a few days ago. 34 steals to lead the American League. Swing and a miss, 1-2. Opponents are 5 for 5 against Santana. Chris Herman with a little bit of a stronger arm, I think it's fair to say, than Kurt Suzuki behind the plate. One and two. Ooh, low throw, and Mauer caught it before it hit the dirt. No pickoffs, and 5 for 5, and the league's best at first after his leadoff single. Swing and a miss. Another strikeout for Santana. And got him with a 94-mile-per-hour fastball.
Good fastball there, about the top end of his velocity. And right up, as Dick was talking about, around the perimeters of the zone. It doesn't have to be down and in or down and away all the time. You can go up and in, up and away too. It's just that perimeter. Borderline strike is where the fastball needs to be to set up his other pitches. That was a good pitch to Gaddis.
Here's Rasmus, 0 for 11 in his matchups against Santana. Fastball missing, up and away.
I confess I'd be a little bit surprised if Altuve doesn't go here in this at bat, and maybe sooner rather than later. 1-0 count. Doesn't really have a stealing type lead, it looks like. But it seems to me, for a guy that's as adept at stealing bases as he is, that this would be a good time for him to, with 2 out, for him to try and go.
Rasmus hitting cleanup with 17 home runs. Astros as a team 174. home runs. There's a pitch over the inside corner. Only the Toronto Blue Jays in the American League have hit more home runs. They've got 180. 4 early ones for the Blue Jays today. We're told they've jumped out in front of Toronto, or in front of Detroit rather, 6-0. Outside now 2-1. And by contrast, the Twins, who have picked up their home run pace as of late, have just 122. 2-1. Santana trying to pitch around the leadoff single. And now 2-2. Two and two to Rasmus. 3 strikeouts for Irvin Santana. He hopes, and chances are you at home hope that's the start of a good afternoon for the Twins righty. For a single, 3 strikeouts followed, and the manager would like to be reminded what it's like when a team gets a good and deep start from their starting pitcher. The Menards batting order hoping to provide some run support for the starter, and it's Brian Dozier hitting leadoff today. Eduardo Escobar batting second. Joe Mauer, Miguel Sano, Eddie Rosario, Eduardo Nunez, Shane Robinson, Chris Herman, and Byron Buxton.
Lance McCullers on the mound for Houston. Young man with a very, very good arm. You see the nice ERA there at 3.12. He's pitched 83 2/3 innings, struck out 87 guys, only walked 28.
First pitch fouled back, 1 strike. Twins did not play a good ball game last night. They didn't deserve to win. They didn't get any clutch hits to speak of. Didn't play well in the field. Brian Dozier even committed an error. Weren't sharp on the mound. Got another poor start from the starting pitcher. Popped back and out of play again. A second generation pitcher in the big leagues, Lance McCullers Jr. His dad, part-time starter, mainly a reliever for the Padres, the Yankees, the Tigers, and the Rangers. His dad was 28 and 31. Here's another one flipped foul and back into the seats. His dad was 28 and 31 in the big leagues. 3.25 career ERA.
Well, his dad taught him how to throw a baseball very, very well. Look at this delivery. Classic whip arm delivery. But watch when he starts forward and lands. His arm is in perfect position. He's got a long whip type action with his arm, but it doesn't get caught behind him at all. It's right up on top. When he's ready to go, it comes right at you. That is just a really, really pretty delivery. Nothing mechanically wrong with that one at all. He uses his legs well, and as he drives forward, you want to watch where his arm is. Right up on top. That's why he can be around the plate with both his fastball and that breaking ball.
McCullers missed with the slider, and then the curve missed inside. Thought he might have hit the corner. 2-2. Escobar on deck. Now the 95-mile-per-hour fastball.
Yeah, live arm, and that ball will sail in on right-handers like that, and then he can. It looks to me like he can cut off that sail a little bit, throw a little bit straighter.
All ball. The at bat still alive. Teams have hit well over 300 against the fastball. As impressive as it is, 95 on the gun. It's a pretty straight fastball, and we've seen countless pitchers, including some wearing Twins uniforms, that get by with that first time through the order, but then sometimes the second or third time is an issue for McCullers.
Well, as good as his delivery is, it doesn't look like he's pinpoint in terms of fastball. He relies on velocity.
And there's a leadoff walk. Now McCullers was visibly upset on ball 2 when he thought he dropped a curve over the inside corner. He snaps the return throw back from Conger and goes behind the mound to meditate. Northland Ford defense for the Astros. Marisnik in left, Gomez in center, Rasmussen right, Valbuena, Gonzalez, Altuve, and Carter. And Hank Conger again behind the plate. Valbuena moving from first base across to third base with the slugger Chris Carter at first.
Well, we'll see where McCullers' fastball leads him today. The one ball with movement, the fastball with movement we saw to Dozier was up and in, and everything in the zone was straight.
So the plate, ball 1.
You see a little movement there. He's trying to make the ball move from left to right as we're looking at it from the center field camera. And if he can get that movement in the strike zone, he's going to be good. But if that movement is basically up and away to left-handers or up and into right-handers, and that's the only time he gets movement, then I can see where he's going to have trouble against big league hitters with the straight fastball in the strike zone.
Outside again, 2-0. McCullers got ahead of Dozier through 3 strikes to start Dozier. He fouled all 3 of them off and hasn't thrown a strike since. Three and 0. McCullers had a good start his last time out and really struggled in his start in Texas. Just a third of an inning, 7 hits, 6 earned runs.
You look at how the infield has shifted way over to the right side, but the outfield actually playing Escobar the other way.
3-1.
And that's the result of the charts, all the technology and all the scouting reports, everything that's done on where hitters hit the ball. If they hit the ball on the ground, they generally pull it. And with Escobar, if he hits it on the ground, it's going to the right side almost exclusively. But he will hit the ball in the air the other way. So you just can't play it one way, both in the infield and outfield. As Escobar takes ball 4, and McCullers is struggling with fastball command.
Now the Twins had plenty of opportunities like this last night. Leadoff doubles that were stranded. Runners on base 2 at a time before the first out. The Twins were unable to produce runs out of those situations. And really critical here, I would think, for this team who had a bad night at the plate with runners in scoring position to get something done early against McCullers.
Well, I agree. They want to cash in on an opportunity like this. I think it's important to get them feeling good about themselves. But anytime, whether it's the first inning or the 4th or the 7th, you get the first 2 guys on with nobody out. You need to move those guys around.
Strike 1 to Mauer. McCullers, the second youngest starting pitcher in the big leagues behind Luis Severino of the Yankees. Twins didn't see Severino, but like his dad, made his major league debut at the age of 21. A high fly to center field. Retreating is Gomez. Retreating to the bases, Dozier. And Dozier will advance to third, and Escobar holding at first. Gomez down on the field like he may have twisted something with his return throw to the infield. One down, that'll bring up Sano. Hamstring issue that he's been dealing with, but you never know it from those numbers in August.
Yeah, very gaudy numbers, isn't it? A young man that right now you can describe as if he doesn't strike out, he's going to hit a rocket somewhere. Seems like every time he puts the ball in play, the ball's punished.
Sano has the almost entire right side of the infield wide open to him here. He takes ball one. A pull shift on for Sano as the Astros are hoping to get a double play. Again, they do this more than any other team in baseball. Sano prides himself in the ability to hit the other way, and he's got a freebie if he can hit an 8-hopper to the right side. 2-0.
Well, I would tell you that most of his Twins teammates, probably his manager, and I guarantee you everyone sitting in the stands here are not looking for an 8-hopper from Miguel Sano right now.
No, I know.
Now with 2 strikes, maybe they'll say he'll take an 8-hopper. His manager would take an 8-hopper to the right side. But you're right, it's wide open over there, which just is a testimony to where he doesn't hit the ball on the ground so far in his young career.
Over the inside corner. But this is a shift you would think that the Astros would not put on, say, for a Miguel Cabrera, who might be the best right-handed hitter in the game right now, because Cabrera has proven to be a run producer everywhere on the field.
Right.
Home run power to the opposite field. Up and in, now 3-1.
Right, but you really have to remember, it's not about where he hits the ball in the air. It's about where he hits the ball on the ground in terms of the infield shift. You look at the outfield, and they're playing him absolutely straight away in the outfield. And so all the charts are telling him is he may hit the ball the right side, but it won't be on the ground.
Ball 4. McCullers is all over the place. He's walked 3 men in the first inning. He got ahead of Bauer, strike 1, and he wants to have another chat with his catcher. Rosario will bat. And A.J. Hinch. We've seen McCullers kind of flex that pitching arm a couple of times. If there's something going on there or not. Maybe a nervous tick any pitcher would get if they walk the bases full. Big spot here for the rookie Rosario. Twins playing today with Hunter, Suzuki, and Plouffe on the bench, with Rosario moving up to 5th. Ball 1.
Well, to your point, Dick, they are not. A.J. Hinch is not shy about shifting. He's looked at the spray chart on Rosario, and he says, if he hits it on the ground, I just don't believe he's going to hit it to the left side.
A drive to right. Rasmus back. And a catch on the warning track. Front 2 runners will tag, and the Twins are on the board. Rosario just missed a 4-run home run. A sacrifice fly, and the Twins are on the board. Escobar to third, 2 away for Nunez.
Well, he had a home run swing at it. That ball just got in on just a little bit. It didn't quite get the extension. And believe me, that was a matter of an inch or so on the bat.
Wind is blowing in pretty good from right field, and that might have, if not kept the ball from going out, the wind might have kept it from hitting the wall.
Yep.
And now here is Nunez. Swing and a miss. So far, all the Twins really have done, they've taken a walk. The 2 balls they put in play have been fly balls to the outfield. Now fouled away, 2 strikes.
On the positive side of things, if you're not going to get bases loaded doubles here in the first inning, we did have a situation where Joe Mauer got the runner on second base over to third, and Rosario got him in from third with less than 2 outs. So they did the minimum part of their job. You'd sure like to see it get more runs out of the bases loaded, but they did at least the minimum part of what they are up there to do with runners where they were stationed.
Wasn't a hit with men in scoring position, but it was a fly ball, a productive out. Should be a comfort to any starting pitcher to get the first lead. 2 strikes to Nunez. Twins looking for a 2-out hit. To right field. And a nice running catch by Rasmus. Nunez hit it hard, but Rasmus with enough time to get underneath it. The Twins take 3 walks and score a run in the first.
Now, he has really struggled lately, as we mentioned, but he went up to his pitching coach recently, Neil Allen, and he said, enough is enough. I need to figure out what is going on wrong. And Neil Allen said that the main thing is he's falling off way too far toward first base, which ends up with him leaving his fastball up, and that's when he's getting hurt the most. So they put some rosin bags in different spots right in front of the mound this past week where he should be landing, and they marked where he actually is landing with chalk just to give him an idea and a target going forward. And at one point, guys, Neil Allen even stood right next to Santana on his left side while he pitched, and he told him, you cannot touch me. You have to land more toward home plate. So keep an eye on where he's landing today and then how that affects his fastball.
Thank you, Jamie. Very good report. Neil Allen has done some very creative things with Santana. There's a ball punched to short right center field, and even Buxton can't get that one. A 1-strike single and another leadoff hit against Santana. One of the things they did, and Neil, as I talked with him this morning, called it the shortstop drill. And basically what it was he would roll baseballs up the mound, forcing Santana to bend over, backhand the baseball, and then come up into the throwing position. He says you watch shortstops and they don't throw and fall off toward the side. He said shortstops always have very good, usually very good throwing mechanics. And he called it the shortstop drill, where he forced Santana to bend over, pick up the baseball, and then get over the rubber and throw back and forth and not to the side.
Oh, that's really, really interesting. If you look at the way shortstops throw from the hole, for example, their front side, front shoulder, front side is going right at first base, but as they get ready to deliver the ball, that's pretty ingenious little drill, because what Santana's been doing, as reported by Jamie very well, is the front shoulder and his weight kind of falls toward the first base side. And when you open up like that, your arm drags, and then you can't throw it where you want to throw it.
Gomez, of course, a threat to steal, has been checked here after his leadoff single.
Bert Blyleven talks about it all the time. Bert calls it flying open. But when a guy's shoulder and his weight tends to go toward the first base bag, the arm drags, and then the ball, it's almost impossible to throw the ball down in the strike zone with a dragging right arm. Almost impossible. The ball is going to be high, or especially high and away to left-hand hitters, into right-hand.
1-0 to Valbuena, and like Herman has to jump out of the crouch to catch ball 2.
So if you watch him come right at us here, when he starts there, but then see he really opens up, and his left shoulder, front shoulder, flies open, and the arm drags, and he can't get on top of the baseball.
Foul back. You guys talk an awful lot from a hitting perspective or a throwing perspective about the front shoulder and the dangers of it flying open, and that's true as a hitter as well, right?
It's the exact same thing. You know, the biomechanics of sports and movement is the same in just about every endeavor, and so it's the same way with the hitter. If his front shoulder and front hip open up quickly, the bat drags, and you can't get it through the zone.
Gomez goes, and the pitch lifted foul into the seats.
And if a pitcher or a shortstop, anybody that's trying to throw hard, opens up the front shoulder, the arm will drag. You see that with Danny Santana as a shortstop. They would work on his footwork, trying to keep him more square to his intended target, because he would get his footwork messed up, his front side would open, and you see that sidearm sailing throw that he would throw over to first a lot of times.
The throw to first. One of the reasons I enjoyed watching Andy Pettitte pitch all these years, even though he beat the Twins on a regular basis, the theory that you almost use your front shoulder as a sight line toward home plate. The ball hooked foul, and I always thought Pettitte did that better than anybody. He reared back, and you could see him peering over, for him, his right shoulder, locking in on the target at home plate. Yeah, that's a great analogy, or a great picture of what we're talking about. Santana trying to pitch around his second leadoff single. A long at bat here with Valbuena at the plate, 2-2. And a foul ball that Herman has rattled out of the mitt. When I was having trouble throwing, if I found myself having a little bit of accuracy issues throwing to first base from shortstop, I would try to, after I fielded the ball, I would try to bring my glove up and point the back of my front shoulder at the first baseman. And then I would just pick out a very small target on the first baseman, and let it fly. And it's the same when you're throwing mechanics are throwing mechanics. Doesn't matter what position. Very close pickoff move to first. There have been about as many throws to first as there have been to home plate in this Valbuena at bat. Gomez is leaning. There's no question about that. He's got a pretty good lead, and his weight was on his front side, his front leg. He's either trying to get Santana to think he's going to go, or he's going, because that's not a one-way lead back to first, what he has. Another foul ball over the Astro dugout. Santana in the first inning struck out 3 men. He's having a hard time getting strike 3 past Valbuena. 7 pitches in this at bat. Well, he made some really good pitches with sliders and changeups in the first inning, and has not gotten back to those yet this inning. Blasted to left field. Robinson back. Warning track, leaps and makes the catch right at the base of the wall. Gomez is going to try to come through, and the throw a little off target. A long throw for Robinson in left field, and he made it, still retreating to the fence, and Gomez saw that and was able to take a base. I thought that ball was big trouble for Santana when it left home plate.
Well, you mentioned the wind on the ball that Rosario hit to right field. I think in like manner, this ball sailed on Shane Robinson. That ball went a lot farther than what he thought. And you see right here, Gomez realizes it's going to be against the fence, and so he thinks he's got a chance. He went halfway to see if the ball was going to be off the wall, and then when he saw Shane Robinson start getting a bead on it, he went back to tag up. That's a good base running play.
Fastball is up to Chris Carter. Strikeout prone, very strong. Santana would like to strike him out here. One of the issues for Santana has been striking guys out. He hasn't done a good job of it. Time called. In his last start, and granted it lasted just 2 2/3 innings, but he only struck out one guy. He did strike out 6 in 7 2/3 innings against the Yankees. But in 6 innings against the Rangers, 1 strikeout. 2 1/3 innings against the Indians, just 1 strikeout. Another 6-inning outing back in early August in Toronto, 6 innings, but just 2 strikeouts. And so he gets 3 right out of the chute here this afternoon. And falls behind Carter 2-0. Two and 1.
That's a strikeout pitch right there. That slider in exactly that location. Now for a 2-0 pitch, this is a terrific. That's just a terrific pitch. He's just sitting fastball 2-0, and he gets a perfect slider on the corner.
Dozier trying to keep Gomez close. For Carter, 341 at bats, just a 182 average, 17 home runs, but a whopping 135 strikeouts. Striking out about 40% of his at bats. 2 and 1.
I think this is an inordinate amount of attention they're paying to Gomez on second base. You got a guy that can strike out like this. Let's bear down and strike him out.
Oh wow, that one skipped off the roof of the Twins dugout. And concern behind the Twins dugout. We'll hope everyone is all right. Wow. That went right over the left shoulder of manager Paul Molitor. 2 and 2. And Santana again diverting his attention. Closer but safe. Astros have stolen 98 bases. Twins have stolen 56. It's a matter of personnel. They've got Altuve. Now they've got Gomez. They've got guys who can steal. But the Astros with a big lead in total stolen bases. The Royals have 86. They have the next highest total in the league. Inside now 3 and 2. .28 pitches for Santana, and what, 25 of them from the stretch. Got him looking, shaving the corner with a 94-mile-per-hour fastball, 2 down.
Well, that was just a great pitch. Shame he had to get to 3 and 2 to throw it, but that's a terrific 2-strike pitch. Right on the corner. Carter was going to have no chance. That was going to be another one of the many strikeouts he'll have this season. There's no chance he's going to hit that one.
Hank Conger with Gomez at second, and now 2 down. Half swing, strike 1.
And that's what I really believe that Ervin Santana has to do more often, is throw something other than fastball early in the count. First ball pitch, throw a good slider, good changeup in good locations. Put other things in hitters' minds early in counts, so they're not just walking up there sitting on fastballs all the time. And I think for me, if I'm the shortstop, I leave Gomez alone now for my pitcher. There's 2 outs. He's not going to try to steal third with 2 out. A base hit to the outfield. He's probably going to score anyway. Primary focus right now on the hitters. Got to be on the hitter right here for Santana.
Can I just amend that a little bit? He shouldn't try to steal third. But you're talking about Carlos Gomez.
You're right. That's a good point.
A hit to the outfield, and he's going to score without a throw.
Right.
He should not try to steal third. But
it's go, and there's no telling what he might do. But what he might do that's incorrect should not affect what the Twins are doing.
And a throw. Got him! They picked him off! And Gomez flexes his right arm. A.J. Hinch says, hold on just a second. But Gomez may be hurt. That might be a larger issue here. The throw may have hit Gomez. And he never got to the bag. Escobar, intentionally or not, blocked Gomez off the second base bag. And Santana, after throwing, 10, 12 times, finally picks off Gomez. How are you? But he really was blocked off the bag nicely by Escobar.
Yeah, he really was, and it wasn't intentional. He just had to stay right there and to field the throw. And Gomez's hand jammed into his foot and ankle. So I'm glad they picked him off. I don't think they should have. I mean, I can't figure out what Gomez was trying to do. I can't figure out Santana's absolute fixation on trying to pick him off, especially with 2 out. But they got him, and we're happy.
Shane Robinson takes strike 1 from Lance McCullers, hoping for better control in the second inning. 1-1. It's a different baseball. You talked about his dad instructing him very likely in proper fundamentals, and the ball hit to right center field. And Rasmus has a long run, and he makes the catch for the first out. Today's Twins and Astros game being broadcast again this afternoon on AFN, the American Forces Network, broadcasting to the U.S. Armed Forces serving around the world on land and on ships at sea. We welcome you. Again, thank you very much for your service. 1 down. But there is a built-in advantage, I suppose, having your dad play Major League Baseball, something that you probably experienced.
I will tell you that there is that advantage, yes.
Spent a lot of time with Roy Smalley Sr. Working on your hitting. Was he a switch hitter as well?
No, he was not, and he was the one that was insistent that I become a switch hitter. Wanted me to start when I was 11 years old, and I wouldn't until, in the interest of making Little League All-Star teams and all that, I wouldn't even try it until I was 14, and finally it dawned on me that that would be a pretty good advantage.
Check swing. No. All right, since we're off on that tangent, what's the optimum age, do you think, for somebody trying to become a switch hitter?
Oh, I don't think you can start too early.
So I'm going to miss 1 and 2.
I don't think there's anything about hitting one way that would influence you not wanting to turn around and hit the other way if you can do it. I think you find out pretty early on whether it's something that would make sense to you.
High hop for Carter and an easy play for out number 2. Aaron Hicks, I believe, was age 9 when his dad insisted that he become a switch hitter. Hicks, by the way, is the designated hitter this afternoon in Rochester. He'll play the outfield for a couple of games, and as we discussed last night, Paul Molitor said he's going to play corner outfield positions as the Twins try to project into the future what an outfield might look like with Rosario, Buxton, and Hicks. Might have to hit it over the fence to get an extra base hit. And Buxton takes ball 1.
There will be an awful lot fewer balls hitting outfield grass and warning track with those 3 young men out there.
Buxton down the line. He might get an extra base hit.
Oh, you can count on it.
And we saw Marisnik make a good play in the corner, and Buxton pulls it down the line for a 2-out double. And that'll bring up Dozier. First Twins hit, and it comes from a guy who really needed one.
Yeah, he did need this badly, and he got his hands in and the barrel of the bat out in front of that inside fastball. But now watch this. He knows that's a double right now. And that running style is just beautiful and fun to watch because he just chews up ground. Those long strides, it just chews up ground at the same time looking effortless.
Dozier takes a strike over the inside corner. One of the reasons the Twins are so high on Buxton's potential, he takes his job very, very seriously. I talked to him in spring training and I said, what have you been working on? He goes, explosive running. Here's a guy who, didn't play much last year, and he understands what his game is, driven by his legs, and he was working through distance running, weightlifting, on explosive running. In other words, that trying to make that first step or two a little bit quicker.
His speed is mind-boggling to me anyway. It's amazing that he believes that he can make it even faster, and good for him.
1-1 to Dozier, and now back to the backstop. But it's one thing for somebody to train in the off season, and it's another to have them focus on something specific baseball wise. A lot of guys lift weights now, and maybe some run. They don't maybe as much as they used to, but guys work out all year long. But he was baseball skills specific in his workout. Toward the hole, and Gonzalez fires across. Buxton left aboard. Heading to the third, the Twins lead 1-0.
inside the Minnesota Wild booth, and boy, I know it's fun to have the Twins pushing for the playoffs in baseball season, but hunting season and hockey season aren't far away. Stop over here, Fan Central. Get your gear, get ready for fall, which leads into winter, guys.
Imagine that, Kevin Gorg in a hockey store. Pulled foul, 1 strike. Meant to mention last night, and I didn't, so I'll mention it now. Zach Parise was here taking part in the home run derby. I don't know whether he took down the bear or not.
He did not. It's tough to take down the bear. He did hit one way up there in the upper deck, though. I think his one home run that the Zach hit went way up there.
1-1 with Santana again throwing to Conger, who was at the plate when Gomez was picked off. Swing and a miss, 1-2. Well, it has to be nice for Neil Allen and Paul Molitor and probably every relief pitcher that the Twins have to see Santana getting some swings and misses. He's got 4 strikeouts already. And now he has 5.
And 2 terrific changeups right in a row. And again, I believe that his slider and his changeup are his strikeout pitches, and he just has to be able to get to that 2-strike situation before with fastballs before they jump on it.
Time now to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use North Data Strong Fan, and you might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. You just send us a picture, and we'll delete them when we're done with them. Right? I mean, for privacy's sake, but we will take a look at them and identify one as our fan photo of the game. 1-0 to Marisnik. And now 1-1. Santana would love to get into a roll. He gave up a first pitch single to the leadoff man in the first, and I think Gomez hit the 4th pitch of the 2nd inning for a base hit and had to pitch the rest of the inning out of the stretch, distracted with speed on the bases. It's not just that they were leadoff hits, but these were 2 speed guys, base stealing guys. 2-1. 2-2.
And in fairness to Santana, the slider that Gomez hit, dunked into right center for a hit, was a good pitch. It was down and away on the outside corner. And sometimes you just have to tip your hat to the hitter. He just doinked one in there, just got his bat. The pitch was right there. Instead of fouling it off like that, Gomez just hit a little dying quail into right center. So it's been much better today for Ervin Santana.
Around the hands, 3-2.
You can pitch up in the strike zone if it's up and in like that, because it sets up so many other things.
Strikeout number 6, the first time through the batting order.
And again, I think that ball's out of the strike zone, and you can pitch up and in to get guys to chase or to impress them that you're coming in there, because then that sets up the slider and the changeup for later on. That's effective, but up and over the middle of the plate is not going to be effective, and that's where Santana's gotten hurt.
Altuve backs away. It was nearly a called strike.
I would love it if Santana got it in the Astros hitters' minds that once or twice every at bat he was coming up and in like that. That would change everything for him in terms of other pitches he could throw effectively.
Altuve thought it was low, and he barks a little bit at Mark Ripperger. Seen the Astros do that a lot in this series. They're a very much strikeout prone team. Lifted foul into the seats, now 1-2. We were not at all pleased with Doug Edding's strike zone last night. Now Altuve confronted Ripperger on strike 2, or on strike 1.
And as we saw in Fox Strikes there just a minute ago, the pitch that he didn't like wasn't horrendously bad. It might have been a ball. All the ones they've griped about have been a lot closer than the seems to me like the intensity of their protests would warrant. I mean, it's one thing. I've seen umpires call pitches on the inside chalk line in the batter's box, missed by 4, 5, 6 inches. But Clock strikes are showing them they're not off that much.
A foul off the bat of Altuve. 96 miles per hour for Santana.
Well, you know, and that's interesting too, isn't it? You get, when your mechanics are better, when you're keeping your front shoulder in the way Neil Allen's been working, your kinesiology is better, and you'll throw the ball harder with the same arm action.
Now wait a second. That's 6 syllables. That's 2 more over the Blyleven limit. You played with Mike Marshall, right?
I did.
The reliever?
I did.
He was a doctor of kinesiology or something?
He had a PhD in kinesiology. Yes, he did.
I think taught classes
yes,
at St. Cloud State when he was pitching for the Twins. Little roller. It'll be a quick throw for Escobar on the run. Got him by a half step. Another good inning for Santana. He's gotten a ground ball out, a fly ball out, a pickoff, and 6 strikeouts through 3 scoreless innings. Your link to what's next by NorthlandFord.com and your local Northland Ford dealer. And by Grand Casino. The best stories start here. Twins up 1-0. They took 3 walks, scored a run in the first, and now will bat in the third. Escobar drew a walk. Mauer will hit next, and then Sano will walk. Popped up left field. Riznick waits and catches one down. That'll bring up Joe Mauer. Twins hoping to win today and finish the month of August with a 500 record. Above the 500 mark, they've had only one winning month. That was in June when they won 20 games. Since then, 11-17 in June, 12-13 in July. And a win today would get them to 14-14. When we open the Chicago series Tuesday night, the Twins will have an expanded roster. Terry Ryan has been in Chattanooga and now is in Rochester watching players that might be available to be called up. The Rochester season doesn't end till next weekend, 1-0. But Paul Molitor said again this morning that the Twins expect to add players before the White Sox opener Tuesday night. There will be a third catcher, and you can imagine maybe Danny Santana, Kenny Vargas, who spent quite a bit of time with the team this year, eventually would be called up. Down low, 2-1. The focus this year will be adding players who can help the Twins win games. In the past several Septembers, that hasn't been the case. Crack foul down the left field line.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about the focus of the wild card race being that second spot occupied right now by Texas. I really think that to get there, though, the focus has to be on how do you get there? How do you overtake Texas and even potentially New York? For the Twins, it means winning series at home and hold and serve on the road.
Swing and a miss. Mauer strikes out, 2 down.
So rather than looking at it game by game and who, if Texas is winning or New York is winning, I think the Twins have to go into every series and say we're going to win 2 out of these 3 at home. We're going to win 2 out of these 3 at home at least. And then when they go on the road, if they can play .500 ball and win out at home, winning series, they're going to be in the playoffs. And that should be the focus, so that any one game that they play when Texas or the Yankees win doesn't get in their minds. They just let's do what we need to do. We're going to win at home. We're going to hold serve on the road.
1 strike to Sano with 2 gone in the 3rd. And now a ball. Twins have instructed Sano to not do anything explosive or strenuous on the bases. Sano got a single yesterday, and then on a double play grounder just veered off toward center field. And I asked Paul Molitor this morning, I said, was that one of the things you told him to do? He said no, but he had no problem with it at all. They're concerned about him, for instance, putting the ball in play here and exploding out of the box. It's not a problem with him striking out. It's a 1-2-3 3rd inning. 10 pitches for McCullers in the 3rd.
Last night, he notched his 13th outfield assist. That's tied with Jimmy Hall for the second most by a Twins rookie. Kirby Puckett holds the record with 16. Rosario's a big basketball fan also, and his teammate Chris Herman suggested recently that Rosario start doing his best Dikembe Mutombo impression, waving his finger like no, no, no. Rosario told me that's a little bit too showy for his taste, but he did do it one time. He said he did it to his buddy Francisco Lindor when he threw him out when they were playing the Indians a few weeks ago, guys.
And I think we saw the one, Jamie, that Rosario kind of put the 2 fingers back in the holster after he threw the runner out. First pitch single for Marwin Gonzalez. It's a 3rd leadoff hit for the Astros. And back to the stretch for Santana facing Evan Gattis.
Well, again, another hitter against Santana, going up there swinging at the first fastball that he gets. There's a little breaking ball for strike 1, which is, again, I think very, very important. Just especially to a team like the Astros that have a bunch of 220 and 230 hitting guys. You just can't get me over fastballs the first pitch every time up.
Heck of a stop by Herman. Pitch landed, looked like in front of the left-handed batter's box. One and one. Bouncer foul. Gonzalez not the threat to steal that Altuve is. He has 4 steals in 7 tries. Basically, you're worried about, from a base stealing standpoint, you're worried about Altuve with 34. Correa, who hasn't played in this series, with 11. Marisnik, who has 17. Springer, who's hurt. Twins will see him next weekend with 14. And then, of course, Gomez. Gaddis struck out swinging his first time up. There's Altuve. Santana had retired 5 in a row before the leadoff single. 2-2.
Good attempted strikeout pitch there. Nice slider right out there on the outside corner, just off the corner. Gaddis able to lay off of it, but it was a good try on a 1-2 count.
Shaving the outside corner. Much better command for Santana as he hits the corner and gets another strikeout. 2 down, or 1 down. Twins and Tigers in the middle of September here at Target Field, and Tuesday features the U.S. Bank Value Pack. You can purchase a U.S. Bank Home Run Porch View ticket and receive a free Schweigert hot dog and Pepsi. Wednesday is Student Day, presented by Rasmussen College. Standing room tickets just $5 for students, and they include a free ride on Metro Transit. Call 800-33-TWINS. Visit twinsbaseball.com to get your tickets today. Now 1-0 to Rasmus. Santana picking up 7 strikeouts among his first 10 outs. To center, and Buxton makes the catch. 2 down. And that'll bring up Gomez. Our soup.com question today. We didn't do very good last night. Who are the 2 Astros skippers to win Manager of the Year? Well, they went to the World Series a few years ago, and I believe Phil Garner was the manager that year.
I was going to say Phil Garner, and then Larry Dierker when he came out. Didn't he win one time? He came out of the booth and.
Yeah, he did that. I don't remember whether he won the award or not. They had an interesting collection of managers, and Yogi Berra managed there at one point, I believe. Who were your managers in New York? You probably had 7 or 8 of them.
Were?
Yeah.
Yeah, I played for Yogi in '84. When I got traded from here in 1982, I played that first year for Bob Lemon and Gene Michael and Clyde King, and that was just in '82. And then Billy Martin in '83 and Yogi in '84. My second tour of duty with Billy Martin. He was my first big league manager in Texas.
Half swing. They'll appeal. Nope. That's a tough check swing there. Gomez, who's been swinging out of his shoes all series long. Whatever he did to his right hand being picked off at second, his hands must be okay to check his swing like that.
Yep. Well, that's a strong body. He's got a tremendously athletic body. Runner goes. And
Herman throws him out. Chris Herman's been really good behind the plate in terms of his throwing. And the Astros make their second out at second base.
This is what you call on the money.
today's Twins game is brought to you by Super America. Get your Knothole Kids Day vouchers at any local Super America. Twins with a 1-0 lead. They didn't do a whole lot to get the lead. They took 3 walks and hit a fly ball in the first inning against Lance McCullers Jr. Rosario drove the run in. Looked for a while like he might have done more than driving one in. He hit a fly ball to the warning track in right with the bases loaded in the first inning. 33rd run batted in for the rookie. Under the glove of Altuve, and Rosario has the second Twins hit. A leadoff hit for the Twins. The other hit came with 2 outs in the second. That'll bring up Nunez.
A good swing by Rosario. Gets a fastball pretty much in the middle of the zone. And pulls it into right field. Just past the diving Jose Altuve, who has made many diving plays like that. Terrific little player. Now Eduardo Nunez, who hit the ball hard on the line to right field. His first time up, had a chance to drive in a couple runs, and Colby Rasmus, the right fielder, made a very nice semi-diving play.
Rosario can steal a base. Twins might like to do something here and give the Astros a taste of their own medicine. 9 steals, 14 tries for Rosario. The team leader is Dozier with 10, but of course Dozier's been with the team all year long and Rosario wasn't.
One thing that we have seen characteristic of Paul Molitor is that he is not afraid. As a matter of fact, seems more than willing to put some plays on, steals, hit and run. When the guys aren't swinging the bat great, or when a pitcher's been tough, he is not afraid to not play station to station baseball, but to go ahead and get runners started and do some other things. So we'll see if he feels like that this inning here with Rosario on first and nobody out.
And now 2-0.
One of the things that enters into a manager's mind when he's trying to decide is what he thinks his hitter's chances are up there at the plate against a given pitcher.
Hit hard this time to center. Gomez with the catch. A couple of lineouts for Nunez, hitting in some tough luck here today. And now Robinson. Fox Sports North is proud to partner with Girls on the Run Twin Cities to empower girls to be healthy and confident. Join us for the Girls on the Run Fall 5K, Saturday, November 14th at Harriet Island Pavilion. To register, visit foxsportsnorth.com, click on upcoming events. That's something I might consider, but I think on Saturday, November 14th, I might be in my deer stand yet. Shane Robinson. And there goes Rosario, a little bit of a double clutch. And Rosario has a swipe of second base. 10th steal of the year, tying Dozier now for the team lead.
Well, a nice jump by Eddie Rosario here. And then Conger almost lost control of the ball there, didn't get a real good grip on it. So the combination of a decent jump and not the perfect exchange from the catcher, and Rosario's in there.
Strike on the outside corner, 1-1.
Now, the reason I mentioned the manager oftentimes will decide how he feels about a particular hitter against a pitcher. Nunez has been swinging the bat well, hit a line drive off of McCullers the first time up. I think Paul is, what I had in my mind, Paul probably wanted to see if Nunez could drive the ball somewhere before he had Rosario steal. Then when Nunez made it out, now he feels like he needs to get guys in motion.
Roll to the third baseman. Valbuena fires across, 2 down. That'll bring up Herman. Herman hit a ground ball to Carter his first time up. Texas is leading Baltimore. Still batting in the first. It's 2-0 Rangers, and the Orioles are fading away. team that was above the 500 mark, looked like they were poised to do what they did last year, not win the division necessarily, but put a good run on at the end. Then the Twins swept them, and they have not recovered since. They're 3 games below 500. Herman swings and misses. Twins a game and a half behind Texas, and the Orioles 4.5 back. And obviously, if the Rangers win, it'll be 5.5. One and one. Herman with 10 runs batted in. Does a nice job behind the plate. Was with the club for most of the year, then sent down. Eric Fryer pretty much hit his way up here. He was hitting well over 300 at AAA, but then ran into some issues up here. I would guess, just a guess, that Fryer would be back with the club as early as Tuesday as the 3rd catcher. One of the things that's been pleasant to see from Rosario, you talk about his 275, 280 batting average, some power. He seems to be a very good and aggressive base runner. Herman swings and misses. 1 and 2. If Herman were to get a hit to the outfield, Rosario's done his due diligence by this point. He knows where the outfielders are. He seems to be one of the better base runners on the team.
Paul Molitor has mentioned that several times during the course of this season about how he's been impressed with, and I'll paraphrase basically what Paul said, that his baseball IQ, Rosario's baseball IQ in terms of both defense and base running.
2 and 2 now to Herman.
Put him in play here.
And Herman on a pitch down and in, swings and misses. There's the lob to first. And this time it's Rosario left at second base after his leadoff single. Mountain Dew fans of the game, the Bullseye plush given out today, and a couple of young ladies decided to turn the plushes into hats. Another nice crowd, not as big as last night when the Twins actually sold the ballpark out. Twins have an off day tomorrow and then open up a 3-game series with the White Sox. Twins will face Chris Sale in the opener on Tuesday. Carlos Rodon, Jeff Samardzija. Twins will send Duffy, Malone, and Gibson up against the White Sox. 1-0 to Gomez. He was at the plate when Gonzalez was thrown out trying to steal, and now 2-0. 4 good innings by Irvin Santana. No walks, 3 hits allowed. Swings and misses, and not much solid contact.
Well, he's pitched very, very well. 180 degrees differently than his previous 5 or 6 starts in a lot of ways.
Just missed the inside corner, 3-1. Now he's got to come into Gomez, and I strongly suspect Gomez knows that. On the outside corner, 3-2.
Boy, we've seen a lot of that. Much better command of his fastball. A couple of fastballs in the middle of the strike zone to lead off first pitch to hitters, but
popped up, and Mauer watches it spin back into the seats.
Except for the fastball down the middle first pitch to Altuve, the fastball down the middle first pitch of the inning to Rasmus, both of which resulted in base hits. He has been around the perimeter of the zone with his fastball for the first time in a long time, and all of his breaking balls and changeups have been in good spots.
Another foul back, 3-2. 7 strikeouts, a season high of 8 in his Twins debut back on the 5th of July in Kansas City. Trying to come back from 3-1 to get Gomez leading off the 5th. Drilled to left center field, and Buxton is going to have to take the carom off the fence in left center, and Gomez with a leadoff double.
And just as I said that, then he got a fastball up in the middle of the zone there. 3-2. He's trying not to walk the leadoff hitter, and just couldn't get the last fastball there where he wanted. You see this pitch right there in the whooping zone, and Carlos Gomez is not a wallflower when he's got a bat in his hand. He's going to be taking a rip at it.
Valbuena, who had a long at bat against Santana before sending a deep fly ball to left. Twins pick Gomez off of second base to end the 2nd inning. Down and away, ball 1. Four Houston hits, 1 each in 4 different innings. 1-1. Gonzalez again reacting like he doesn't think that was a strike. And he's right. Bueno, the complaining hitter, fouled away now, 1-2. Always thought that he knew of what he was speaking, but Don Drysdale summarized it best. Hall of Fame pitcher and a really good broadcaster too. He said, you win as a pitcher, you win on a 1-2 count, you lose on 2-1. And you get the hitter to be a little more aggressive. And strikeout number 8, getting Valbuena for the first time.
Well, again, this is a strikeout pitch. That really good down and in breaking slider under the bat of a left-hand hitter. And the key for Santana is to get to that 1-2 count, 2-2 count, where he can throw it down in there.
Box tracks presented there by Dodge. Here's a pop-up between the mound and second base, and it's shortstop Escobar who called Dozier off. Dozier had an issue with the second base umpire Ben May. So a very quick second out. Gomez still at second base. It'll bring up Hank Conger.
Drysdale's comment is just so illustrative of what it's like as a hitter and a pitcher, and what the battle is pitch by pitch, and that's 80 or 90% of the game is the battle between the pitcher and the hitter, and every pitch is important, is significant, maybe the most significant, the 1-1 pitch, because the difference between 2 and 1, the little kind of batting practice, almost fastball there, just a little hard changeup to get ahead of Conger. But the difference between 2-1 and 1-2 is immense to a hitter, just absolutely huge.
Beyond the truth that lies therein, I just thought it was so succinct when
right
when heard Don say it. I mean,
great comment.
Just think how many at bats and games are turned around when a guy has been ahead, as Santana has been most of the afternoon here.
Yep. Really true.
Two strikes
it's
now.
A great comment.
To Conger. And I'm not going to let this go. Illustrative is 4 syllables. And that is within the Burt Blyleven limit of 4 syllables.
So you really didn't have to bring it up then.
What was the one? 6 syllables that you used a couple innings ago?
Well, I said kinesiology.
There you
go. That's an everyday word in sports. It should be. It could be. Might be.
6 syllables. I don't believe our Twins viewing audience is conditioned for that.
Everybody's lucky I didn't say kinesiological.
1-2, and a high pop-up right side, tracked by Dozier. And now to the infield, the wind brings it in. Dozier stays with it, and Gomez's leadoff double is wasted. It's still 1-0.
With a family from Lakeville. Mike is here enjoying a beautiful day at Target Field with his family. They've got their Circle Me Burt sign and can't ask for much better weather than this, but it sounds like it was a last-minute trip to the field for you.
It was a last-minute trip. A friend called with tickets yesterday, and we were up north at their grandparents' cabin. We didn't have any of our Twins gear, so the boys thought, let's make a Circle Us Bird sign. So we got in the car this morning, got down here, and here we are.
Well, that's perfect. And you got your Golden Gopher gear on to rep Minnesota still, so we'll let you have that. We're going to give you $100 worth of scratch-off tickets to the Minnesota Lottery. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you very much. Awesome.
1-1 the count as the Twins hope to expand their 1-0 lead. Byron Buxton doubled down the left field line his first time up. And now 2-1. Buxton got ahead of the count in his first at bat, breaking a rut that he's been in, where he's been falling behind all the time, and now it's 2-1, not 1-2. Breaking ball snaps over 2-2.
That's an interesting pitch there. Most of the breaking balls that have been effective for McCullers so far have been ones that have started at the hitter and broken onto the plate. And there, that's the nasty one right there. When you can throw it for the middle of the plate and break it out there, that has sharp late break. Not as big as Tyler Duffy's, but watch, it gets up there and then goes a long way sideways in a short period of time. That's a nasty break.
We've seen Santana throw that same pitch, right? How would you contrast Santana's breaking ball down and away to a right-hander to what we just saw?
Well, I think McCullers would call that a curveball more than a slider. Santana's more of a true slider, and it's a little smaller break, but as effective in that location, that's for sure.
Dozier out on the first pitch for the second time. 2 down in the 5th. Twins haven't done much against McCullers, but he came in with great credentials, part of a potential historically good 2012 draft. Correa was in that draft for the Astros. Buxton was in the draft at the top end for the Twins. 2 down quickly, and here's Escobar. Off the plate, ball 1.
Was Chris Bryant of the Cubs in that draft?
Yes, I believe he was.
I think he was too. How about those 3 names out of one draft?
On the outside corner. There's Correa. Got a hamstring issue. Will probably play when we get to Houston next weekend. Down and away 2-1. Also, George Springer is expected to be back with the big league club. So the Twins taking on an injured, dinged up Astros roster. That won't be the case very likely next week. Nice stop at first by Carter. And he goes to the bag. Another 10-pitch 1-2-3 inning for Lance McCullers Jr.
Update. We go back to this date in 1987. The Twins in the heat of the pennant race, and Kirby Puckett with a huge night in Milwaukee. 2 singles, 2 doubles, 2 home runs, a 6-hit night, part of a 10-6 Minnesota win that helped the Twins on their way to the division title. Let's go back to Target Field.
Thank you very much. And a little footnote to Kirby's 6-hit game. There's a ball pushed up the first base line. Santana tagged the runner out. I was looking for a flip to Mauer, but Santana scooped it up and tagged out Marisnick on his way up the line.
Very nice play.
Kirby Puckett, one of, I believe, still just 2 players in baseball to have 2 6-hit games in his career. And I believe the other one is a guy by the name of Roger Doc Kramer. Now, that was true years ago, and I don't believe that's changed. But to have 2 6-hit games, you know, if somebody could do that, you just get on a roll and you'll see it happen every once in a while, maybe even in an extra inning game. But Kirby did it twice, and I believe he's one of only 2 guys to do that.
Well, I would tell you that performance in Milwaukee that day that we just remembered was one of the most impressive. I hate using the word awesome, it's overused, but Altuve with another base hit up the middle, but awesome really is one of the only ways to describe what Kirby did that day. And it was not just the 6 hits. It was when they came, how important they were, how many runs each of them drove in, and where we were in the pennant race. One of the greatest performances I ever saw. We kept getting the lead, and Milwaukee kept taking it back, and Kirby get us the lead again, and we'd give it back. He just talked about when he's that one time when he said, "Just climb on my back and I'll take you there." That was the most impressive example of him doing exactly that I ever saw.
Altuve will draw some attention from Santana, or one would think. Outside, ball 1. And one other footnote on that game, the Sunday game where Kirby ended up getting 4 hits and following it up with another great game. He also took a grand slam home run away from Robin Yount in center field. It was hit so deep, and Kirby had to leap and fell down after taking the ball back in over the fence. 2 runs scored. The bases were loaded, and the runner from third scored, and the runner from second scored, but Kirby saved 2 runs with a catch in that game. 1-1 to Marwin Gonzalez. Toronto's beaten Detroit, and the Tigers are in absolute free fall. They are now 60-70. 9-2 the final score today. And Altuve checked it first. So far Santana has been very, very good. He's scattered 5 hits, 1 each in 5 different innings. That's to short center, and it's trouble. Escobar out. He won't get there, and it drops. And now Buxton, as the ball come out of his glove, a little pop fly single, and for the first time this afternoon, the Astros have 2 hits in 1 inning. Twins take on the White Sox Tuesday night through Thursday afternoon here at Target Field. Tuesday features a U.S. Bank value pack. Purchase a U.S. Bank home run porch view ticket and receive a free Schweigert hot dog and Pepsi. Wednesday is Student Day, presented by Rasmussen College. Standing room tickets just $5 for students, and they include a free ride on Metro Transit. Call 800-33-TWINS. Visit twinsbaseball.com for tickets. Santana now to Gaddis. He struck him out twice, and he misses ball 1. Gaddis went down swinging in the first, looking in the fourth. 8 strikeouts for Santana, tying a season high. And on the year, Santana with just 4 ground ball double plays. 2-0.
I get a kick out of Gaddis. He just looks like an old school baseball player. He's got no batting gloves, and very little pine tar, if any, on his bat. He's got an old school stance.
Swing and a miss. 2-1. And now 2-2. Gaddis fits the Astros profile, a high strikeout guy. 462 at bats and 97 strikeouts.
Yep, and 22 home runs. That's
the profile.
That's their deal.
2-2 from Santana to Gaddis. Twins clinging to a 1-0 lead. It'll pop up again. This one a little more hang time, and Buxton comes in, makes a web catch. Streaking in from center field. A lot of white showing, and he ended up in the skin of the infield.
Shane Robinson and Eduardo Escobar out in left field looking at where did he come from. Boy, did he come a long way to get that ball. Look where he's playing, and everybody thought this was going to be, look at Buxton coming, everybody thought this was going to be between Shane Robinson and Escobar. I didn't think either one of them had a chance. Byron Buxton.
Look at that. He ended up catching 1/3 of the baseball, but it stayed in the glove. 2 down, and now Colby Rasmus, who has struck out and hit a fly ball to Buxton. Missing again, 2-0. Pitch count 91. Twins would love to see Santana complete 6, maybe pitch into through the 7th, but first things first, trying to give the Twins their first 6-inning start in 9 games. A deep drive down the line, but foul. 2-1. The beginnings of some activity in the Twins bullpen. Somebody just walking up and down the bullpen mound. Nobody throwing down there yet. 2-1 to Rasmus. 3-1. Carlos Gomez on deck. Big man to get. Gomez has already picked up a couple of hits against Santana today.
Yeah, I believe this is really the guy he wants, and he's got to get his mechanics back in order and get back down in the strike zone.
Multi strike. Breaking ball right down the middle of the plate.
A little spinning slider. I think Rasmus was so keyed in on fastball speed that he let a hanger get by. Now Santana's been a little bit unlucky. Ground ball single, pop fly single. He's got to make a great pitch right here. There it is.
A season high 9 strikeouts for Irvin Santana and 6 innings, 6 shutout innings. Honors all of our service members at home and abroad. See if the Twins can change the number, as you say. It's been stuck at 1 since the first inning. Twins only scored 1 run last night. It'll be Mauer, Sano, and Rosario facing Lance McCullers Jr.
Well, you almost always have to change a 1. Ones don't count.
And Mauer thought about bunting in front of Valbuena, but instead takes ball 1.
Well, he had a base hit if he had gotten a good pitch. It was a good decision to take that pitch, not a good pitch to bunt. Now Valbuena will come in, but he was giving him a base hit there. Joe could have gotten a good pitch to do it.
Fouled away, 1-1. Joe 0 for 2. Fly ball to center and a strikeout in the 3rd. On the outside corner, 1-2, and now Mauer looks back at Ripperger.
Newberger's strike zone has been a little big today. Yeah, that's Joe knows better than umpires most times. I would have bet when he didn't agree, I would bet it was a ball.
Foul back. Still 1-2. Twins running into some good pitching, and then they're facing two imports. Scott Kazmir, Mike Fiers, and now McCullers, who had a tough start in early August, was sent down to the minor leagues, brought back, and has pitched much better. A chip down the left field line, and Marisnick won't have a play. It figures to change next week when, well, you'd sure think the Twins would have to face Dallas Keuchel, the ace of the Astros, in the 3-game series. Keuchel's scheduled to go tomorrow. Twins, or the Astros rather, playing the Mariners. Feldman and Kazmir will go on Wednesday, so the Twins won't have to face Kazmir next weekend. Bauer swings and misses. Second time he struck out. 1 down.
Probably get Keuchel on Saturday.
Yep. And that'll bring up Miguel Sano with the bases empty. Today's Cold Hard Fact brought to you by the Silver Bullet. Clean, crisp Coors Light. Jimmy Hall with the Twins record for most RBIs in a month back in his rookie season of 1963. Teammate of Tony Olivas, who's also on the list. Sano fouls it off the catcher. Conger, 1 strike. Sano today, a walk and a strikeout. And a remarkable first 2 months in the big leagues for Sano. Now playing with a bit of a hamstring issue in the lineup today. Twins have an off day tomorrow, and the hope is that that left leg, excuse me, for Sano, it's his right leg, will be much better when the Twins open up a series against the White Sox Tuesday night. 1-1. Foul back. So in terms of a frequency of what might happen here, at the top of the list, Sano, he's struck out 74 times. The next most frequent thing to happen is going to be a walk. He's walked 32 times. Up, and the count's 2-2. The next most frequent thing that might happen would be a single. He's got 23 of those, but then doubles 13, home runs 12. Just missed the corner. Now it's 3-2. But you're looking at a guy who, even though he's picked up a lot of strikeouts lately, hasn't hit a home run in a couple of days, a slugging percentage of .574 and an on-base percentage of just under .400.
Well, I don't know about all those other things. What I do know is that if the chances are, if he doesn't strike out or walk, he's going to scald it somewhere.
Now you're talking BABIP. His batting average on balls in play.
I have no idea.
That's BABIP.
Okay.
Minus home runs. Home runs don't count in BABIP.
Why?
Because it's a measure of how hard you hit the ball and how difficult a hitter you are for the fielders to contend with. Foul back. 3-2. The Twins have reemerged as a contender for a playoff spot because of Miguel Sano. You don't need to make it any more complex than that. Without Sano and his presence in the middle of this Twins lineup, they don't have the road trip that they had through Baltimore and St. Petersburg.
Absolutely true.
3-2. Just his 173rd at bat. And he took a second walk of the ball game. Taking close pitches. A couple of breaking balls that just missed the inside corner.
Notice that he has changed batting gloves. Look at his batting gloves here, the blue and white ones. that he had his first trip up there. All of a sudden now he's got new ones on. Clearly, the blue and white ones had no hits in it.
Okay.
He just got to get rid of those things. He doesn't like the way anything's going with those batting gloves. I'm going to put some new ones on because that'll change everything. I totally understand that.
But that might be a function, don't you think, of a designated hitter simply having too much time on his hands?
No.
You don't think so?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. That is a function of a hitter saying something's got to change here, and it must be the batting gloves.
Okay.
I totally understand.
And I would have picked you as a more analytical, it's not the arrow, it's the Indian. I mean, it's me. I got to figure something out internally.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the way I was. I wasn't real superstitious, except sometimes you just have to take matters into your own hands.
1-1.
As it were, with the batting gloves.
Swing and a miss, 1-2.
Sometimes things just have to be different. You can't change yourself as easily as you can change your batting gloves.
But all the while still being accountable. That you're the guy holding the bat.
Oh,
right?
sure.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sure. No, I wasn't a Joe Boo guy, thinking that from Major League with the voodoo. Oh, that's great curveball right there to Rosario. Tough pitch.
2 down. Visit Fox Sports North at the Minnesota State Fair now through Labor Day. They are at 1311 Underwood Street across from the Ballpark Cafe. Meet on-air personalities, special guests. Tomorrow, Anthony LaPanta will be there from noon to 1. That's if our conference call's over with. Oh, wait a minute. We don't have one tomorrow, do we? It's an off day. That's right. Vikings cheerleaders will be there from 6 to 7. Register to win tickets to the local teams. Snag great giveaway items, posters, and more. Visit foxsportsnorth.com. Click on upcoming events. And now Nunez. Twins trying to do something here in the 6th inning. The run that scored was scored on 3 walks and a fly ball. One and one. First inning, when he walked 3 guys, he had 26 pitches, and now this is the first time that he's had over 13 in an inning. 1-1 to Nunez. Swing and a miss. Again, the situation with Sano at first. He's been told, don't take any chances. Don't be aggressive. Run, but don't run foolishly for somebody who's nursing a hamstring injury. He's got a very conservative lead.
Well, even in addition to that, I would be worried about a 2-out ball in the gap.
Right. Even things like that. That's the thing they're concerned about. The first step with a ball put in play. That was a foul ball, but Sano gingerly started towards second base. Excuse me, 2-2 now. Pitch well off the plate. Three and 2. And now Sano will
gingerly
make his way towards second base. Breaking ball blasted to left. Nunez lifts one back and gone off the facing of the second deck. Eduardo Nunez hitting his 4th of the year, and it's a 3-0 Twins lead.
Just a sensational at bat by Eduardo Nunez gets behind, battles back to get the count to 3-2, and then got what looked to me to be a hanging breaking ball. Paul Molitor, congratulate him on the quality of that bat. He gets a hanging breaking ball, and he knows it. As soon as he hits it, he knows that ball is way back. Talks to his buddies on the bench, said, how about watch where this one lands? And it's off the facing of the second deck. A bomb at a beautiful time. Put the Twins up 3-0.
Big 2-out hit, and now Shane Robinson. 1 strike.
Paul Molitor having a quick word about how great that at bat was, and also about how he had that coming to him with 2 line drives for outs his first 2 times up. Eduardo Nunez finally hit one where an Astro player couldn't be standing in front of him.
Again, the challenge for Paul Molitor today was putting together a lineup, feeling that Trevor Plouffe needed a day off. Okay, we can put Nunez there. Wanted Sano's bat in the lineup as the designated hitter. 2-2 to Robinson. And then Torrey Hunter getting another day off. We've seen a lot more of those in the second half than the first half. Going with Chris Herman. Herman with a good game behind the plate. Chad Qualls warming up in the bullpen. A throw out over stolen base attempt for Herman. Nunez now with a 2-run home run. And a dribbler up the line and eventually fouled.
Well, you're right. The makeshift, kind of a makeshift lineup today by Paul Molitor, giving everybody the rest that he felt like they needed. And the 6 terrific innings by Ervin Santana could not have come at a better time. When it looked like a good starting pitcher on the mound. Some not so much regular players in the lineup. Important game to win this series. Boy, they needed a good outing by Santana. He's given them six good innings and will go out there for the 7th. But it also comes at a time when none of Jepson, May, or Perkins pitched yesterday, and there's an off day tomorrow. All those guys will be available in exactly the capacity Molitor would like to have them available. And so really timely performances by Santana and Nunez today.
What a wonderful sight that is.
All the bullpen guys just sitting watching.
Yeah, we're getting ready for the top of the 7th inning, and they're just watching out there. Usually by now half those guys would be in the dugout already. Santana will get the start of the 7th inning. 3-2. Drilled to center and down for a hit. As Nunez battled McCullers for a great at bat in the 6th, Robinson did the same and ended up with a line drive single.
Well, we've talked about him a little bit here lately, and should be talking about him about Shane Robinson more. Just such a competent, solid baseball player. Great 4th outfielder have him on the team. That's a grind out at bat, great at bat, which is kind of characteristic of Shane. He just always gives you tough at bats. So good in the outfield, steady, consistent.
And Shane would never do this. He's a team player. It's one of the reasons the Twins brought him over. But you know, if you hypnotized him, he would probably admit, you know, I'm swinging the bat better because I'm playing more. You know, to be in the role that a backup outfielder's in is not easy.
No.
Because you know, backup infielder, same thing, backup catcher. You don't play as often as you would like, and when you do, you're usually facing pretty good pitching because there's a reason the starter isn't playing.
You know, that's really true, and it makes Shane Robinson's performance this year, and I think Eduardo Nunez's performance this year all the more impressive. I think one of the great values that Nunez has, and Shane Robinson, we look at Shane the same way, is their ability to have competitive at-bats when they haven't played a lot. And I think about Nunez started impressing me last year with tough at-bats, big hits he got. He hit the ball to right field, drive-in runs. He has continued that this year. Just competitive at-bats when he plays.
Strong ball hit to the shortstop, playing on the right side of the infield. There's the 3rd out, but it comes after a 2-run home run by Eduardo Nunez. It was a 1-0 Twins lead. Now 3-0. scoring game in this series.
Well, it's a pretty simple story of the game. Rosario in the first inning with a sacrifice fly, and then in the sixth, Eduardo Nunez with an absolute bomb to left field, a 2-run home run. Gives the Twins a 3-0 lead, and the Astros have 0 runs because of this guy so far. Ervin Santana pitching great. Not only picked off Carlos Gomez, but has been a lot more in command of his stuff today. You know, we've seen him for 5 or 6 starts.
First pitch of the 7th inning popped up over the Twins dugout and out of play. It'll be Gomez, Valbuena, and Carter. And we said at the time with the Astros in a 1-0 ball game, they got a couple of 1-out singles that Rasmus was the guy to get. And now it's 3-0, and the Twins are pitching to Gomez with the bases empty, leading off the next inning. Santana did his job, striking out Rasmus, stranding the 2 runners. Now 1 strike to Gomez. To center, and that'll carry out to Buxton, who comes in for the catch, 1 down. And now Valbuena. Friday, October 2nd, it's Zubaz Palooza as the Twins take on the Royals. A limited quantity of special ticket packages are available that include a pair of Twins Zubaz. For tickets, visit twinsbaseball.com/Zubaz. Valbuena 0 for 2. Warning track fly ball to left in the 2nd, and a swinging strikeout in the 5th. Strike 1. And now low. This will be pitch number 100 for Santana. Season high 108 pitches twice this year.
Well, there's now activity in the Twins bullpen, and I'm sure that on Paul Molitor's mind and pitching coach Neil Allen's mind, as we look at Trevor May, they're thinking, okay, if Santana can have a quick inning here, then he gets to finish. If not, they're going to get somebody else in. They're going to lessen the pitch count.
Right to Rosario. He literally didn't have to move. 2 down. A heavy sigh by Santana, and an encouraging sign for that man, who probably has already sighed several times. Sighs of relief. You know, and what this would do, let's say he can get Carter here and have 7 shutout innings.
Oh.
And he just stuck him in the ribs with a fastball.
And that's the kind of thing that gets you taken out of a ball game. And the big sigh of relief there was 2 outs on relatively small number of pitches. And I think he's got to know in at least the back of his mind that Molitor's not going to let him throw a lot more pitches than what he's thrown already. That was an ill-timed hit by pitch right there for Ervin Santana.
Now he'll face Conger, who is 0 for 2. Strikeout and a pop up to second. Just off the plate, ball 1. Santana just off the plate, but that's been called before today. And now hard but foul.
Well, here's that 1-1 count we've talked about. This is a big pitch at the end of the getting close to the end of the line for Santana. This is a big pitch.
Tap foul. He's ahead of him 1-2.
And he got away with one. He's thrown so many really good sliders today. That one was not one of them. And he got away with a hanger there. But you're right. He's now at the 1-2 count, and now he got a lot of ways to go. He's got fastball outside. He's got the slider down toward the back foot. Got a lot of ways to go. There's the back foot slider. He's going to try to throw it right down there where Herman's sign is, or his target is. Not a bad location on that slider, but more of the plate than what he wanted as a strikeout pitch. He wanted that further in. Now he's going to try to go fastball on the outside corner.
This is Santana's 4th start at Target Field. And the first 3 starts didn't go well. A total of 15 2/3 innings and 17 earned runs allowed here at Target Field. He's one good pitch away from spinning 7 shutout innings here against the first place ball club.
And that good pitch he needs to be the slider. Herbert wants time. He wants to go to his strikeout pitch. Was again slider down and into a left-hand hitter. This is where he needs to make the pitch. Watch where. Well, now he's gone back. He's gone to the changeup. Down low.
And he missed 3-2. Marisnik, the on-deck hitter.
And I believe Santana will not pitch to Marisnik.
Twins are hoping he won't because it'll be leading off the 8th inning. And a really good day for Irvin Santana, trying to finish with a flourish.
Great spot on that fastball.
Toyota. See where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. By Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, for the everyday competitor in all of us. And by McDonald's. Have bold for breakfast with the new chorizo burrito from McDonald's. 3-0, Irvin Santana with 7 shutout innings. Trying to pick up win number 3 on the season and trying to give the Twins a series win against a first place ball club. Twins play in Houston next weekend, and then it's assumed Aaron Hicks will be back with the club. He's on a rehab assignment as a designated hitter today, 1 for 5. Rochester beat Pawtucket 7-0. Pat Dean with another great outing, 8 shutout innings. And so Hicks is expected to play the outfield for 2 more games for Rochester and then join the club next weekend in Houston. Irvin Santana, we saw him with a heavy sigh out on the mound, and I'm sure he's very relieved that he could finally pitch a good ball game and finally pitch a good ball game here at home.
Well, I think he's got to feel really, really good about that. Striking out, just a great performance, striking out 10 Houston Astro hitters and giving the Twins and Paul Molitor 7 shutout innings, just when they needed it most.
Chad Qualls will come in to pitch to the Twins in the 7th, trying to build on a 3-0 lead. It'll be Byron Buxton who will be the first man to face him. Qualls pitched here a couple nights ago. Astros bullpen vastly improved over what it was a year ago when they won just 70 games. Already won more games this year than they did all of last year. Strike on the outside corner to Buxton. A double down the left field line, and then a swinging strikeout in the 5th. Up the middle, off the pitcher's leg to the shortstop. Gonzalez throws him out. That was a well hit ball up the middle, but it caught Walls on a leg and deflected right to the shortstop. That's just a hang with him for Byron Buxton, right?
That's just a big hang with him. And a kick save and a beauty. That's too bad for Byron. He couldn't get his second hit of the day. He could use some just psychologically, but he's got to accept hard hit balls as successes now. He's got to look at every time he hits the ball like that. He's got to feel good about where he is.
Dozier with a walk to lead off the ball game. He scored the first run of the game and the only run of the game until the Nunez home run last inning. Since then, a couple of ground balls to the left side. One and one. Two and one. Off day tomorrow. And the Twins take on the White Sox and then head out on another daunting road trip. Evan Jepson, who saved 4 ball games for the Twins in the last week or so, might get the 8th inning. It's hard to tell. Trevor May was warming up before. Jepson warming up now. There's a drive to right. This has got some carry. And it's dropped at the wall by Rasmus. Dozier rounds second. He's on his way to third. And he's got a 1-out triple. Again, without the wind. I believe that ball is gone. But he hit it into the wind. And Rasmus had a chance to make a catch. Instead, it'll be a 1-out triple.
I don't think there's any question that ball's in the seats with no wind or wind blowing the opposite direction. We've seen balls held up to right field. Here's Rasmus going back.
He should have caught that ball.
That ball's catchable. He inexplicably just put his head down as the ball was coming into his glove. I think he must have thought he was about to hit the wall. It also could be that overhang right there really distracted him. He thought the ball was going to hit off of that, and he was starting to protect himself.
Infield in for Escobar. Fouled into the seats. A little meat on the bone here for the Twins. They're leading 3-0, but they got to get Dozier in here. Escobar beyond the realm of possibility. He might squeeze here. That's hit to center and well. Long run for Gomez. He won't get there. And a ground rule double will bring Dozier in from third. 4-0 Twins.
That's a huge run batted in for Eduardo Escobar. Good low fastball hitter, and he got one. That's exactly in his wheelhouse. You throw a fastball down and over the middle of the plate, and he could put a charge in one. And he did exactly that for the Twins' 4th run, a 4-run lead going into the 8th inning, the Astros 8th inning. Just really big run at this juncture of the ballgame.
Everything hit against Qualls here in the 7th was hit hard, and he leaves with 1 out in the inning. Santana, and Jamie Hirsch caught up with the Twin starter.
Irvin, a really solid performance for you today. Season high 10 strikeouts, and it looked like you had command of almost all your pitches. What was working so well?
Everything was good. I mean, especially working down the zone, and I've been practicing the whole bullpen and all that, so it paid off today.
I talked to Neil Allen before the game, and he told me about the drills he had you working on in Tampa to make sure that you were not flying off too much to first base. How much did those drills help you today?
A lot. You see the difference today. You know, I was completely different pitcher today that was last week. So, I mean, we had to keep doing it and keep working.
Your first win here at Target Field as a member of the Twins. What's the significance of that for you?
It's good, but we're not winning yet, so we have to wait and then see it.
That's true. Thank you for correcting me. On track for his first win here at Target Field. We'll see if the Twins can hang on, Dick and Roy.
All right, thank you, Jamie. And thank you, Irvin, for taking time to talk with Jamie. Joe Mauer will bat. 4-0 lead.
Also easy to understand why Jamie might make a quick assumption about the game about to be in the Twins win column, as well as the Twins bullpen has been. Speaking of bullpens, Oliver Perez now in for the Astros.
First pitch professionally in 1999. He's been around a long time. And he delivers strike one after ball one to Mauer. One of the other drills that Neil Allen had Santana working on, and we'll bring it up now, even though Mauer's batting, since we got some commentary from Irvin, 1-1. I was watching their bullpen session here 2 days ago, and he had Santana starting his bullpen session where he was actually throwing from behind the mound and stepping up onto the back slope of the mound. And I asked Neil about that today, and he said, well, that's to get him, and I'm not going to be able to paraphrase what he was trying to get him to do, other than it helped him then when he was on the downslope of the mound, getting the ball down, throwing over the top, and all of that, throwing first uphill before you threw downhill.
Makes perfect sense. Almost like a hitter swinging a leaded bat in the on-deck circle so that his bat feels lighter. He had, it's really ingenious. He had Irvin Santana throwing uphill, which would make him really have to get on top to throw the ball down to the plate. Then when he gets up on the mound where he is throwing down, now he's already used to throwing the ball downward, and it could accentuate it even more. So actually, that's a really cool idea.
And you described it so much better than I did. I just thought it was an interesting drill, and so when I asked Neil about it, and he said, you know, it's just trying to get the ball down.
Right.
We got him.
Right.
3-2 to Mauer from Perez. Perez pulled a little Louis Tiant.
Yeah, it worked really well.
And Mauer laced a single to center. Rounding third, here comes Escobar. He'll score. And it's 5-0. Perez tried a little Louis Tiant. And Joe Mauer tried a little Rod Carew.
And I didn't mean to disparage Perez. What I meant to say was it didn't bother Joe, the little Louis Tiant. Joe he's so good at staying in against left-handers and also continues to be terrific with runners in scoring position. Go with a attempt to throw the runner out, misses the cutoff man. Joe might have taken second base there, but it looked like the cutoff man might have been able to cut the ball off, so Joe, not sure, didn't take second base.
Here's Sano. Line to left. Gone in a moment. Sano can take his time circling the bases.
If he doesn't walk or strike out, he hits a laser somewhere.
And the Twins are teeing off against the Astros bullpen. A 4-run 7th inning. First Qualls, and now Perez. That one didn't take much more time when it left Sano's bat to hit the seats than it did from Perez releasing it to home plate.
It was just scalded. You look at the leg drive and the fast hands. He's the whole package. There's no question.
And now Rosario fouls one back.
See. Hold on, baby.
Home run number 13.
You know, the ball leaves your bat at almost 104 miles an hour. It comes in around, that one around 91 and left 13 miles an hour faster. That is scalding the ball. And it really is. I wasn't being facetious. It seems like every time he makes contact, it's hard contact, and it's a walk or a strikeout or something, or a laser somewhere.
Down and away now, 1-2 to Rosario. When you hit it off the bat 104 miles per hour, and this is getting into the minutia of you know where we're at now in baseball with all the advanced metrics and all that, the launch angle doesn't have to be very high.
No.
You know, if you hit it off the bat 104, if you got any loft at all, it'll go. As promised earlier in the game, with Rosario striking out, we have selected the Data Strong Fan photo of the game. Tweet your strongest fan photo to North Data Strong Fan for a chance to be featured in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. 2 down, 4 runs in, and here's Nunez. Tampa Bay beat Kansas City 3-2. Texas still leading Baltimore 3-0. That in the 6th. We're talking about the Tigers being in free fall. How about the Angels? They're back to 500 now. They were swept in Cleveland by the Indians 9-2 today.
I frankly have been a little concerned about the Indians for a little while.
They're just a game behind the Angels now in the wild card standing.
With that pitching, that starting pitching that they have, if they ever were to get on a streak where they scored a bunch of runs in a 10-game streak, they could really do some damage.
Inside, 2-1. Inside again, 3-1. It was Nunez's home run with 2 outs in the 6th. It gave the Twins and Irvin Santana some breathing room.
Yeah, that was a great at bat and a huge home run.
On the ground, right to the shortstop. Gonzalez has it. Over to first, and that ends the inning. Good inning for the Twins. They hit for the cycle consecutively in the 7th inning. A triple, a double, a single, and a home run.
Copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Minnesota Twins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Minnesota Twins, LLC.
So with 2 more runs batted in, Sano is 1 run batted in short of the team record. Jimmy Hall, his great rookie season of 1963. And very likely Sano won't bat again, so August will end with 26 runs batted in. Casey Fiend will pitch the 8th inning for the Twins, who now lead 7-0. This Twins team playing much better baseball, and with the exception of today, they've not done it with starting pitching. Today, not just an apparent win, but the hope that Irvin Santana can maybe today start a string of good starts. And sometimes it works that way, where one guy pitches like Santana did here today, and maybe tomorrow or Tuesday the next starter does something similar, and you can get, as bad as it can go south, it can go north, right?
It's absolutely true. Starting pitching, or pitching in general, can be as really as infectious as hitting can be. It'd be great to see the Twins get on a roll with their starting pitching. Speaking of Tuesday, I think it's Sale on Tuesday, isn't it?
Yes.
So whoever's starting on Tuesday needs to pitch a good ball game on Tuesday.
Twins have already beaten Sale 3 times.
Yeah,
this
how
year.
about that?
I'll bet Chris Sale knows that. Swing and a miss, 1-2. Looking for win number 67 on the year. And Fiend with a quick strikeout of Marisnick, 1 down. And Marisnick with some words for Altuve. Carsoup.com trivia question. I gotta believe it's
Phil Garner almost assuredly. I don't know why I think Larry Durkin.
Okay, well, you're right. That's why.
Yeah,
and it was Hal Lanier.
Oh, was it? It wasn't. It wasn't Yosemite Sam.
Hal Lanier.
Boy, I do not remember that.
1-0 to Altuve. To right, and Rosario won't catch it. It's over his head and off the wall, and Altuve will have an extra base hit. A 1-out double here in the 8th. Twins and the Angels will meet here at Target Field September 17th to the 20th. Thursday night is a Thirsty Thursday, featuring happy hour from 5:30 to 6:30, including deeply discounted beverages and appetizers at select Target Field locations. Saturday is a DQ Sensational Saturday. Sunday is Super American Out-Hole Kids Day. Running out of home dates this year for Twins games. 833 Twins or twinsbaseball.com for tickets. Runner at second, 1 down. And now here's Gonzalez. On strike. Gonzalez called out on strikes in the first, and a pair of singles that have followed. And now a third single. Altuve to third, and he'll be held there with the ball thrown all the way to home plate. First and third, 1 down. Max Stassi called up. He'll hit in the DH spot. Stassi called up when Jason Castro went on the disabled list with a pulled thigh muscle. That happened here 2 nights ago. Stassi, according to A.J. Hinch, was going to be called up after this series anyway as part of the September call-up roster. So he just got here a couple days early because Castro is going to be out for a while. Stasi will very likely stay in the DH spot in the event something might happen to Hank Conger. They could use their DH as the catcher. Roll to the second baseman. Dozier, Escobar, double play. Couple of hits allowed by Feed, but he faces 4 batters, and the Twins have a combined shutout through 8.
At the bottom of the 8th, I'm Jamie Hurst reminding you the Twins Live presented by CenturyLink is coming up immediately following the final out of this game. We'll take a closer look at how Urban Santana sizzled, again on track for his first win here at Target Field with 7 shutout innings, and it certainly helped that his team's offense broke out the bats in a big way in the 7th. 7 runs on the board for the Twins. We'll show you the highlights and hear from manager Paul Mulder all after the game on Twins Live.
It's been a fun day for the Twins and presumably our viewers as well. 7-0. Thank you, Jamie. Shane Robinson will lead off the 8th inning against a new pitcher, Vince Velasquez. Velasquez, one of 6 right-handed relievers in the Houston bullpen. They, like the Twins, carry 13 pitchers. And strike 1 to Robinson.
Seems like every time, with the exception of the left-hander Perez, every time the Astros bring in a relief pitcher, he's got more strikeouts than innings pitched. Or the guys come in throwing 95 miles an hour.
Off the plate. A.J. Hinch is blessed to have a really good starting rotation, a really good bullpen. Astros are for real. They're a good team. Until further notice, they're not going to have to worry about the Angels. Their biggest competition for the division might be the Rangers. So both these teams, Houston and Minnesota, would like to see the Rangers lose for different reasons. But the Rangers don't seem to want to lose. They're leading Baltimore 3-0 in the 6th. Win today, and it's win number 68 for the Texas Rangers.
And we'll head into September in all divisions, and AOS no different, with everybody playing everybody in the division. So that's far from over yet. Sure, I haven't seen the schedule for Houston and the Angels and the Rangers, but I'm sure they play each other quite a bit down the stretch here. That's the one thing I do like about the divisional schedule the way it is, when you play so many more games in your division. Down the stretch, when you have to win your division, you got to beat guys in your division. I think that's that's worth something. I like that aspect of it.
The remedy, and it'll probably come, not imminently, but eventually, expansion for baseball, because as it is now, in the final weeks of the season, somebody in the 5-team division has to play outside the division. There's a pop-up to right field. Rasmus comes in for the first out. Fox Sports Supports is proud to team up with Boys and Girls Clubs of America. Boys and Girls Clubs help young people reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible citizens through programs that promote character and leadership, education, healthy lifestyles, and more. For more info, visit foxsportsupports.com. Down the road, assuming that baseball does expand, and we're due for a round of expansion, frankly. Probably need to get stadium situations resolved in the Bay Area and the other Bay Area, St. Petersburg and Oakland. But you could have 4 divisions with 4 teams and not have somebody playing outside their division in the final weeks of the season. And the 4 division champions would be in the playoffs, and the number 1 team, second place team, could make the 10-team playoff format that we have currently.
So is that 30? Would that be 32 teams then in the league?
32 teams, 10 in the playoffs. You like that?
Well, I don't like it from the. I don't like 10 teams in playoffs, and I don't like.
Well, we've got that already, though.
The ultimate. Well, but in that, but you do. But you've got 2 teams. One team goes down the first 1 game, right?
Right.
It's a long season. It'd be a long playoff. You'd have to do 5 games, an extra 5-game series, right? The playoffs.
I haven't gone that far.
What I
That's
don't
pretty
like
much a
about
spontaneous stream of thought here.
What I don't like about it is the dilution of talent that 4 more teams right now would put on baseball. But you're right. I don't like the fact that a team has to play outside the division.
3-1 to Herman. 0 for 3 at the plate, but another very good game behind it. Popped up. Only 1 infielder over there, so it's the third baseman Valbuena who gives way now to Marisnik. 2 down. I find myself on a pretty regular basis after a well-pitched game like this congratulating Chris Herman. And it's not to take anything away from Kurt Suzuki, but Herman really seems like some of the better pitched games for the Twins are with Chris Herman behind the plate. So you got to give him some credit for calling a good game, blocking pitches. We saw a good throwing arm.
He's done all the things that you want a catcher to do today. Absolutely.
2 down, and here is Buxton. Off the plate, ball 1. Buxton 3 at bats. He's hit 2 balls hard. A double down the left field line in the second. He struck out in the 5th. And he hit a smash up the middle that hit Qualls on the spikes, it looked like, deflecting over to the shortstop. And Buxton was thrown out. And now 2-0. To the rookie. Oh, hit him. And Buxton will take first base. Looks to be okay. 2 out. Hit by pitch.
Fastball that sails in.
The forearm, maybe?
Off the forearm or just an upper arm there, but you can see how early you have to get ready to hit, get your body in motion before you really see where the ball is. When a guy gets hit by a pitch like that, that's oftentimes the best example. He was getting ready, striding into the pitch before he had any idea it was going to be in there, coming in on it. Ball gets up there in a hurry.
1 strike to Dozier. tripled and scored his last time up.
See the shadows there. The shadow just starting to become an issue. The pitcher in the bright sunlight, the hitting background in the bright sunlight, and you'll see the ball out of his hand, but then it comes into that shadow. Fortunately, it's not out so far yet. You ought to be able to see what the pitch is, even though it's hard right at contact. You ought to be able to see what the pitch is before it gets into the shadow, but just barely. That shadow gets out there any farther, and it's really hard to pick up the spin of the ball as it's getting close to the hitter.
And I believe, as we've discussed this over the years, the worst is when the pitcher's in the shadows and the batter's eye is in the sunlight.
I hated that because it was like the pitcher was backlit. You know, it was in shadow, and I'm staring out into a brightly lit background, and it really hard to see. This is hard too, the ball coming into the shadow, but boy, when the pitcher seemed like he was in silhouette, and I had a hard time picking up the ball.
1-2. Texas has added a run. They're leading the Orioles now 4-0 in the 6th. Tapper to short. And that'll end the bottom of the 8th. To the 9th. Twins leading 7-0. Sano with a home run. Somebody tried to tape his mouth shut. Now he's going blindfolded. As I said the other day, very gregarious young man, wonderful personality, just loves being at the ballpark, loved being at the State Fair the other day. And Byron Buxton surprised a lot of people at the State Fair. Glenn Perkins getting an inning. Excuse me, it's Ryan O'Rourke. I beg your pardon. I saw a left-hander, thought it might be an inning for Perkins, but it is O'Rourke. And Colby Rasmus, Carlos Gomez, and Luis Valbuena will hit. At least they are scheduled. Rasmus has struck out twice. Santana got him twice. And he's 0 for 14 against Irvin Santana. And of course, we'll have these two starting pitchers perhaps even pitch against one another next weekend in Houston. Santana will get another chance at the Astros. Just one hit in 12 at bats for Rasmus. And now 2 hits as he drives one just out of Dozier's reach. A day off tomorrow. And then it'll be Chris Sale against Tyler Duffy. Carlos Rodon, another left-hander against Tommy Milone. And Jeff Samardzija has really been struggling in the second half for the White Sox. He'll face Kyle Gibson.
What a good matchup, Sale and Duffy, isn't it? Sale, that all-star, hard-throwing, tough left-hander, and the rookie Tyler Duffy, who has really pitched well in 3 straight starts.
Fox Tracks presented by Carrier. Twins have enjoyed the season series. They won 9 out of 13 with the White Sox, and that difference in the season series explains why the Twins are where they are and the White Sox are where they are. The White Sox against everybody else have played about the same as the Twins, but that lopsided season series has put the Twins in contention, and right now the White Sox are not. Tapper and O'Rourke gathers it in, fires in time to get Gomez on the play. Rasmus goes to second, 1 down.
You know, when we won in '87, the team that finished second in our division was the Oakland A's, and we just thumped the A's. That was the difference in us winning that division, really, because Oakland had a better record against everybody else than we did, but we absolutely destroyed the A's for whatever reason that year.
I remember Steve Carlton's one win as a Twin came on a Saturday night.
Great ball game he pitched that night.
Took a shutout into the 9th inning, and I believe that was his last major league win, and that was against the Oakland A's. 1-0. Twins 2 outs away from win number 67. Fouled back, and it's been fun for me, at least, and I've tried to share it with the viewers and followers on Twitter. Last year, the Twins picked up their 67th win on September 23rd, and that improved their record to 67-90. And if they win here today, they'll be 67-63. That's just 27 extra losses is all that is.
Yeah, well, they could go over September, but I'm betting against it. I'm betting against it. I will say, though, and who would have said that as we look at Torrey Hunter joking with Sano, one thing that's going to happen is we saw Sano's August numbers, and we were reminded Vargas August numbers last year were on there too, and then Kenny struggled in September. That big man right there has made such a difference, to your point earlier. He's got 26 RBIs in August. He's going to have to drive in 15 or 20 in September, I think, if the Twins are going to get in the postseason. He's going to have to continue to be the man that he's been to this point in August.
That's why the Twins have been ultra cautious with the hamstring. And the hope is that if he can stay away from the state fair tomorrow on his off day, he'll just take it easy, let the leg rest, and come back feeling a whole lot better on Tuesday. Full count to Valbuena. And a walk will fill first base.
The other thing that's going to be important down the stretch for the Twins, I think, is going to be Trevor Plouffe. I think him hitting 5th behind Sano is going to be a very, very important spot in the batting order, because as we've seen so much of the time, Sano isn't going to be able to pick up all the runs. There's going to be some runs after RBIs out there to be picked up after Sano's at bat. So whoever the 5th hitter is going to need to be able to pick up the ones that this big man doesn't. But the other thing is, he's willing to take a walk, Sano, and they're going to pitch around him a lot. They're going to pitch him tough because of the damage that he can do. And there are going to be a lot of opportunities where a guy or two on base, Sano walks, and the 5th hitter is going to have to pick up those runs. And I think that's going to fall to Trevor. So probably those two guys, as much as anybody, are going to be very, very important down the stretch.
Right in the outside corner.
Or whoever ends up hitting 5th.
Well, the construction of the Twins batting order looks so much different than it did, but part of that is because Torrey Hunter has struggled. Kurt Suzuki's dropped down to the lower part of the order, and well, you'd like to think that the Twins will catch a second win from the veterans. There's a ball blasted to center field. This has hit a ton. Wow. Almost over the batter's eye. A 3-run home run for Chris Carter. Twins to this point had kept the Astros in the ballpark. Hadn't given up a home run all series long, but that one was absolutely clobbered.
Well, that man can clobber him, that's for sure. He doesn't make a lot of contact, as we talked about it. Getting close to 140 strikeouts. But when he squares it up and gets that extension, oh my goodness, does that go a long way. And I don't know if we're going to be able to see where this ball hits up there on the hitters. Oh my gosh, you're right. It almost hit it all the way up over that thing. Wow. That ball was killed.
There's Conger with the bases empty and there's strike one. I see a ball hit off of that, and of course the first thing I think of is Jim Thome, once with the Twins, once against the Twins, but twice hit it over the batter's eye.
That's a bomb.
They still talk about it, the concessionaires back there, about where the ball hit, and they were selling their wares out there in the concession stands, and all of a sudden a ball showed up.
They end up in a bratwurst back there somewhere.
I mean, if there's any place in this ballpark in the wonderful concourse area where you think you'd be safe from a baseball.
Well, look at that. We had Sano at 103.6, and Carter just left Carter's about 2 miles an hour faster than that.
Measured at 445 feet.
Oh, I think that's conservative.
Well, he hit it almost directly over the 411 mark.
Right. And it was high on that backdrop. It's got to be 20 feet to the base of that.
2-2 to Conger. That one hit hard, and Buxton back makes the catch. That ball was going to go over his head, but he read it perfectly. 2 down.
Go back to just finishing up the thought. Whoever hits fifth, and what it does in the Twins lineup the rest of the way, it doesn't have to be one guy. And I'm not trying to put a lot of pressure on Trevor Plouffe or anybody else. If Torrey got hot, if Rosario got hot, if Trevor gets hot, or some combination thereof, I think the fifth spot in the order is going to be important.
Foul to the backstop. One strike to Marisnik. And now 2 strikes. And standing here at Target Field, 0-2. Left side in the hole and through, and the inning continues. Marisnik keeps the flickering hopes alive for the Astros. 8 shutout innings, but now a 3-run home run. And O'Rourke having a tough time getting 3 outs. He's given up 3 runs and now a base hit. He'll be taken out of the game. Disappointing outing for O'Rourke. Just asked to get the final 3 outs, but he gets only 2 of them, and Trevor May will try to get the last out. I don't know, the way he's going, you can almost imagine him someday finishing games as a closer, but he's been awfully good in the 8th inning.
Well, he's been nothing short of lights out. Amazing. Take that really good power starting stuff and compress it into 1 inning where he can just air it out. He's throwing 95, 96. He's throwing his curveball, good curveball for strikes, and he's got a very good changeup. That's some tough stuff to face in the 8th inning.
See overall the ERA now under 4. Had some really good starts and some starts that weren't that good.
And look at the innings, the walked and strikeouts to innings pitched. Now, would you have thought that after his first outing last year in Oakland?
23 walks in 103 1/3 innings, which is outstanding.
Yeah. And how about Jose Altuve? He's hitting about 380 against left-handed pitching. He was going to get a rookie here, rookie left-hander, and instead in the shadows he's got to get Trevor May.
Runner at first goes. Twins don't care. And here's a ball lifted to deep left field off the bat of Altuve. Robinson at the wall. It's gone. Wow. And it's 7-5. On the first pitch, Altuve picks up his 4th hit. But a 2-run home run, and now it's 7-5.
Boy, can that little guy play or not?
And the Astros held without a home run. In the first 26 innings of this series, have hit 2 here in the 9th.
Walking up there, knowing he's going to get a fastball first pitch for Trevor May to get ahead, and he said, nope, I'm not taking it. Got the big end of the bat out in front, hit it in the seats. The little guy's got a lot of power.
Swing and a miss. And the batter is Gonzalez, but remember, Evan Gattis was taken out of the game. Max Stassi, the backup catcher, represents the tying run if Gonzalez reaches. Looks like Lowry's in the on-deck circle. 1 strike. And now a ball. That's Stassi. On the outside corner. Well, they were standing a few moments ago, but since they were last standing, the Astros have scored 5 runs. Hurt getting loose. One and 2 to Marwin Gonzalez.
Here comes the hook.
No, he did not go, and the ball kicked away from Herman anyway. 2 and 2, a check swing, but it was checked. Four of the runs charged to O'Rourke. The home run by Altuve, that goes on May's ledger. Two and 2. And another one checked. And another one in the dirt getting away from Herman. He tried to get a swing and a miss on a breaking ball, but now the count is full.
What we've seen from Trevor May so far up until in 8th innings, up until trying to close it out here, is throwing that curveball for low strikes and getting guys. Just doesn't have quite the feel for it today.
Old foul. Astros have a 3-man bench, but really a 2-man bench because Correa hasn't played at all in this series. Stassi entered the game for Gattis. Lowry would be the only pinch hit substitution possible for A.J. Hinch. But Trevor May trying to make sure that that's a moot point.
And Trevor hadn't thrown a fastball by anybody yet. Altuve pulled him in the seats, and Gonzalez had good swings at it.
There it is. That's enough. Let's go home. The Twins take the series despite a flurry at the end by the Astros, a couple of home runs. But a good series for the Twins. Not only do they win a couple, but they got a great start from a starter today.
It was a very important series to win. A contending team, an eventual potential division winner, and Twins win the series at home, which they're going to have to win out, I think, the rest of the year, to win the series at home to get themselves in the playoffs. Big series win.
Tom, Twins pick up win number 67 on the season, and an impressive series win over the Astros.
And number 40 at home this season, pushing them 15 games over the 500 mark at Target Field. Up next on Twins Live, presented by CenturyLink, we'll break it all down. What an afternoon for the Twins, and what a win.